what's the point of doing conversions? So there's two big reasons for doing conversions. And it's to go between sizes of units and some equations you got it? Okay. Need specific units. So there's some equations that have to have grams, but there's some equations that have to have kilograms, and you need to be able to go between them. Because sometimes it doesn't make sense to measure in kilograms, but it does, but you have to use kilograms. So you'll measure in grams and turn it into kilograms. Same thing with a lot of labs. Meters have to be the unit, but we'll measure it in centimeters. So that's kind of the idea of why we have to do conversions. So what's a base unit? So the base unit is what you measure. So for example, if you measure length, you do that in meters, and the symbol for meters is a lowercase m. If you measure time, you do that in seconds. That's a lowercase s. And if you're doing mass, you do that in grams, and that's a lowercase g. And you're probably saying to yourself, yeah, Mr. B, I know what time is. I've used seconds before in my life. And you're right. I know this is a little bit simplistic at first, but that's kind of where we're going. We're just trying to ease our way into it. Okay, so what are a prefix term? So I'm going to talk about base units and prefix units, prefix terms. So prefix terms are basically smaller or larger versions of that measurement. So it's smaller or larger lengths, smaller or larger times, smaller or larger masses. So it's smaller or larger versions of the base unit. Okay? All right, so what are the prefixes we need when we're doing metric? You've probably done kilo, hecto, deca, deci, centi, milli. And we're going to use some of those. But I'm going to leave some of them out because literally no one uses some of them. Like you learned hecto, nobody uses hectometers. No, nobody does. So we'll leave those out. So here are the ones you need to know. You need to know kilo. Then the next one is where the base unit is. So I want to make sure you see the base unit is one of these prefixes. It just doesn't have anything in front of it, but it's on the scale. So it goes kilo, base, centi, milli, and then two you may not be familiar with, micro and nano. Okay. The symbol for all these, kilo is a K, base is whatever it is, meters, grams, seconds, centi is a C, milli is an M, micro is the Greek letter mu. Bet you saw that one coming. And nano is an N. Here's a really easy way to remember micro. Okay? If you're like, I don't know what that symbol is, it's micro. Okay? So if you don't know what it is, it's micro. Micro is the weird one. It's the Greek letter mu, which is the Greek letter M, kind of. ish. But that's micro. So for example, if I want to do micrometers, I would write mu m. If I want to do kilograms, I do kg. So you do the prefix and then you do the base unit. If you don't have a prefix, if you're just the base unit, then you just do meters, grams, seconds, whatever it is. Okay. Now here's the thing. These all have some value to them. They're either bigger than the base unit or they're smaller than the base unit. So we need to give them a value. So kilo gets a value of 10 to the third, which is 1,000. The base unit gets a value of 10 to the 0, which is just 1. Centi gets a value of 10 to the negative 2. I'm going to go ahead and put on here that that's just 1, so you don't get confused. Centi is 10 to the negative 2. Milli is 10 to the negative 3. Micro is 10 to the negative 6. Nano is 10 to the negative 9. For this first unit on the test, I will give you these. You don't have to memorize them. You will need to know them going forward, but I'm going to give them to you. Okay, so you don't have to memorize on this first unit. Now here's the thing. It's 10 to the third what? 10 to the third, so it's, how do these things relate? Well, it's 1 kilo gets 10 to the third base. And I'm going to go ahead and use meters as my example, but it works with grams and seconds. So this would be 10 to the third meter. 1 base unit. So 1 meter would be 1 meter. Shocker. 1 centi would be 10 to the negative 2 meters. And it goes on, so on and so forth. Okay. Any questions on the front page? Because we're going to jump into some examples.